My name is Andrew, and I welcome you to the Men's Truth channel. Here we talk about self-development, psychology, health, and much more. So I would be very happy if you subscribe and give me a like. Let's go.
Recently, all possible sources about self-development say the same thing. You need to start reading books, more books. And it's not surprising, because we live in the age of the internet, where everyone is talking and showing successful success, and therefore you should be too. However, for some reason, no one tells you why you should. Perhaps you yourself have thought about starting to read something more than once, and each time you wondered why you should. And this is not surprising. Let's remember school, where we were pushed through a bunch of incomprehensible works of foreign literature, which at that age was almost impossible to understand. I'm sure that everyone has had this experience at least once. You look at a book, read the letters, and you just don't understand what's going on. This clearly does not instill a love of reading. After all, we were literally expected to read something we were not interested in, and what could be worse than a process you don't like? So as a result, for us, books began to be associated with something boring and tedious. And with the advent of TikTok-type social networks, it became almost impossible to focus on one object for a long time. And now reading books has become not only boring, but also difficult. And this problem with focus is not only in this case, it is everywhere. We cannot eat in silence and without unnecessary sounds, because we have to watch YouTube. We can't help but pick up the phone every 15 minutes because we have to go to Telegram to read the news. And as a result, we have a physical need to constantly shift our attention somewhere, thus relieving our stress. This stress accumulates because we are rarely alone with ourselves, without extraneous sounds and information. We rarely listen to and communicate with our inner self. It is important to understand that learning to read books is the same skill as skateboarding. You need desire, discipline, and understanding of what it will give you. If in the case of skateboarding it is a good physical form and attention among girls, then a book opens the door to a new world where things are possible that are impossible in the real world. For example, you can communicate with the dead and look for answers to your questions. We are talking about authors who have not been with us for tens or hundreds of years. Just think, you can now read a book whose events are closely intertwined with what is happening now. I'm talking about George Orwell's 1984. Of course, I would not recommend it to an unprepared reader, but this is the type of book that makes you a new person and you will not be able to live as you did before. I'm a little carried away, so let's get back to the topic of our video. Do we need to read books? Since we are a consumer culture, and we are used to enjoying everything, reading should not be an exception. We need to understand what we get in return for wasting time looking at a set of letters. So let's start with the fact that many YouTube videos say that the brain is a muscle that, like any other, needs to be constantly trained. I completely agree with this, but there is one thing. The brain is an organ, and its structure is not the same as that of muscles, so training should be specific. The brain needs constant activity, constant creation of new neural connections. In the absence of the latter, it begins to degrade, which can ultimately affect not only your present life, but also your old age, where dementia is likely to come to visit you. Fortunately, we live in a world where books can be found everywhere, which means that you can start your first training sessions today. So next, we'll talk about how to choose the right book and start reading. Choosing a book is somewhat similar to choosing a car you dream about or want to buy. That is, you have to feel it in your heart. The book description should captivate you completely. It should also correspond to what is going on inside you. That is, if you are interested in money and earning it, then the book should be on this topic. It doesn't matter how many pages there are, because you're not in a competition and you don't have to read it in 2 hours or a day. The main thing is that the topic is really interesting to you and you like it. And as soon as you find this book, start reading it. Don't be surprised if after 20-30 pages, you still don't understand whether you liked it or not. Books, like some TV series, sometimes need more time to reveal themselves. I started watching Game of Thrones 3 times, and every time I was bored. But one day I overcame myself, and this series did not let me go until I watched the last episode. So give the book a chance. As with every new activity in your life, you need to be disciplined. So make it a habit to read at least 10 pages a day. It should take you no more than 15 minutes. You don't need to force yourself to do it. Treat it as an experiment, during which you not only have nothing to lose, but on the contrary, you can gain a lot of useful things for yourself.
Thank you for watching. As always, like and subscribe to the channel.